The absolute collapse that went down at Gamebridge Fieldhouse wasn't just a tough loss or a bad shooting slump. It was a full-scale, multi-layered organizational failure that resulted in a devastating 16-point blowout by a brand-new expansion franchise. From an offensive meltdown and a broken interior defense to baffling rotation choices and ongoing, shadowy questions surrounding injury transparency, every single flaw was exposed on that floor and traced directly back to the coaching staff's decisions. The Indiana Fever didn't just drop the game 184 to the Portland Fire to fall to 4-4. They triggered an immediate structural crisis that won't just fix itself. At the center of the storm is Caitlin Clark, who was completely neutralized in under 22 minutes, finishing with an abysmal 6 points, 0 triples, and a -8 rating before fouling out. This isn't a fluke. It's a brutal 2-game trend of performance degradation happening in tandem with a physical back issue that the staff refuses to publicly clarify, evoking the exact same non-compliance patterns that already drew a formal league warning. If management is secretly limiting her minutes due to injury, hiding behind a wall of silence is both an institutional failure and a strategic disaster, leaving their entire rotation completely indefensible when the stakes are highest.
Caitlin Clark was benched in the first quarter of this game. And after that, she started getting in foul trouble, and she was benched throughout the majority of this game. I don't have the energy to even make a video right now. I'm just so mad, guys. Final score 84-100. I am so fucking mad right now.
The exploding fan outrage following Saturday's disaster is a massive reality check that any self-aware front office should be terrified of. Indiana Fever supporters, the very fan base that stayed patient through years of losing and fueled the historic ticket sales we tracked on this channel, are now openly romanticizing the previous coaching staff they once desperately wanted fired. When your followers reach the point where the old regime looks like a massive upgrade, the current staff's credibility isn't just damaged. It is completely bankrupt, and no amount of generic press conference spin can save it. Instead of delivering the results needed to stop the bleeding, Saturday's performance completely bottomed out, exposing a broken interior defense that demands its own ruthless autopsy.
And different things about Caitlin Clark. How can you be in rhythm when the referees call every foul for you just touching the damn basketball? The lineups has been just so horrendous. And I never thought I'd be saying this, but I wish we had Christy Sides, bro. At this point, it is brutal to watch. The Indiana Fever is currently in the final seconds of this basketball game. It is so bad tonight that Stephanie White is actually she's trending.
Allowing the Portland Fire to absolutely rack up 52 points in the paint is a catastrophic failure for an Indiana Fever roster built specifically around Aaliyah Boston as their ultimate interior deterrent. Boston finished with a team worst -14 rating, but pinning this disaster entirely on her misses the real culprit. A broken defensive scheme that routinely hung its star center out to dry against Portland's offensive onslaught. Players execute within systems, but coaches design and adjust them, meaning a 52-point interior demolition in a 16-point blowout isn't just an isolated player slump. It is a damning indictment of systemic coaching failure and a complete tactical breakdown from the bench.
The Portland Fire has made 52 points in the paint. 52 points in the paint. They're literally picking the Indiana Fever apart. They have no bigs. The entire front office needs to be fired today. Amber Cox.
Megan Gustafson absolutely shredded this defense for 22 points on a ridiculous 88% shooting, a stat line no competent, professionally structured defense should ever allow. The tape doesn't lie. This wasn't a case of an average player suddenly turning into an elite superstar, but rather a total systemic collapse that completely failed to disrupt her catch points, contest her favorite angles, or make a single real-time adjustment. When you let an opponent score with near-perfect efficiency, it isn't just good luck on their part. It means your defensive scheme completely disintegrated, failing to provide even the baseline level of resistance required in professional basketball.
Lexi Hall was horrendous tonight. And I hate to say that for Lexi, man. Lexi was all 4 front of field, all 4 from 3. And once again, the Indiana Fever has no-name players getting... Who the fuck is Megan Gustafsson? She had 22 points. She couldn't miss. Megan couldn't miss. 88 from the field. 1-on-1. She shot 100%, bro. She missed 1 free throw. Megan did. I don't even know who Megan is.
The brutal reality of this 4-4 record demands ruthless, unedited honesty. The Indiana Fever have completely imploded, dropping 4 of their last 5 games after a promising 3-1 start. This downward spiral is defined by Caitlin Clark's harsh 2-game, 21% shooting slump, a defensive interior that just surrendered 52 paint points to a first-year expansion team, and a coaching staff whose baffling rotations bench a primary offensive engine during a critical early rhythm-building window until the game was completely out of reach. Worse, the systemic flaws we flagged in Game 1, the total lack of secondary creation, a starved pick-and-roll offense, and the toxic friction between Clark's natural brilliance and Christie Side's rigid system have only been compounded by a troubling back injury that the front office refuses to honestly address. With a demanding schedule ahead, the clock is ticking, and the most urgent crisis is Clark's physical health. If her back is ruining her lower body drive, release timing, and deep-range mechanics, the staff is sitting on information they are legally required to disclose under the CBA framework they've already been warned for violating. This toxic cocktail of performance degradation, quiet minute reductions, and evasive pressuring deflections has shattered fan trust so deeply that speculative trade discourse is already surfacing just 8 games into the season, a catastrophic indictment of the franchise's institutional reality. The only analytically relevant question left is whether this organization is even capable of a course correction before the 2026 season completely slips away. This is Wnba Pro. Subscribe now, smash notifications for the full film room breakdown of these defensive collapses, and drop your raw, film-literate analysis in the comments. Is this a temporary slump, or is this team fundamentally broken?
And Steph White are both trending. Fever fans want her to be left behind in Portland. Stephanie White coaching is criminal. Let's just pull up the latest, bro. Let's just pull up the latest. Fire Stephanie White and Amber Cox. This next week. The experiment is over. It's definitely over. Cannot believe what the front office plus Stephanie White plus her coaching staff has done to once-in-a-lifetime player in Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell-Leah Boston. Plus,
The absolute collapse that went down at Gamebridge Fieldhouse wasn't just a tough loss or a bad shooting slump. It was a full-scale, multi-layered organizational failure that resulted in a devastating 16-point blowout by a brand-new expansion franchise. From an offensive meltdown and a broken interior defense to baffling rotation choices and ongoing, shadowy questions surrounding injury transparency, every single flaw was exposed on that floor and traced directly back to the coaching staff's decisions. The Indiana Fever didn't just drop the game 100-84, the Portland Fire to fall to 4-4. They triggered an immediate structural crisis that won't just fix itself. At the center of the storm is Caitlin Clark, who was completely neutralized in under 22 minutes, finishing with an abysmal 6 points, 0 triples, and a -8 rating before fouling out. This isn't a fluke. It's a brutal 2-game trend of performance degradation happening in tandem with a physical back issue that the staff refuses to publicly clarify, evoking the exact same non-compliance patterns that already drew a formal league warning. If management is secretly limiting her minutes due to injury, hiding behind a wall of silence is both an institutional failure and a strategic disaster, leaving their entire rotation completely indefensible when the stakes are highest.